I'm going to show you step by step how to swap out your Switch Lite battery. Okay, so Christina has a Switch Lite, and well, it's been a couple of years now and the battery no longer holds a charge. So today I'm going to take it apart and break it.
What?
Well, actually, no, that's not the aim. I'm going to show you exactly how to replace the battery in a safe way, and well, I'm going to show you step by step. But I do want to say a few things straight away. This is absolutely going to void your warranty. So if you're within warranty, don't do this. You can send your Switch or Switch Lite back to Nintendo and they will actually replace the battery for you, I believe even out of warranty. So if you're not savvy with any of this, go and do that. This, in terms of like difficulty, is quite up there, which as I sort of go over things, I'm going to tell you why they're difficult. But yeah, there's a few steps of this which are pretty difficult. We're going to have to remove the heatsink, reapply thermal paste, clean up that thermal paste. It's not just take the battery out and swap it. There's ribbon cables and things like that to remove. It's a little bit tricky for those that aren't used to this kind of stuff. I've been building PCs for donkey's years and I'm kind of used to this kind of thing. So it's okay. But if you're all good and you want to go ahead, well then let's crack on with it. And I'll start with what we're going to need because there are a few things, and I will link everything I can down in the description so that you have all the tools that you need to do this. Oh, and another thing, time frame, you're looking at probably 30 minutes to an hour depending on your skill level. Okay, so the things that you will need, there's quite a few. So you're going to need some thermal paste, which I just have a fresh one from a cooler from a PC, but you know, links down in the description. Coffee filters, which sounds really random, but they're actually really good for removing old thermal paste and cleaning because they don't break off with fibers and stuff like that. You're going to need isopropyl alcohol. Now, most people would say 70% and above. I've actually chosen 99.9%, I think it is, because this is the absolute best, like purest stuff you can get, and this is for cleaning electronics. Obviously, do not use water in any of this, because that will lead to corrosion. So I've actually decanted some of this isopropyl alcohol into a small glass jar. So if you see that down in the corner there, that's what that is. It's just for easy access. You're gonna need some Q-tips to, you know, rub that alcohol around. Spudgers are these little plastic tools to open things up, and you know, it just makes life a lot easier. Or if you've got like a guitar plectrum or something like that, it can work, but it's a little bit fiddly. A tri-wing screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, a battery shovel, and all of this is actually included with the battery replacement kit. And of course we have the battery itself. So the kit that I will link down in the description actually comes with the battery, these spudgers, the right screwdrivers, as well as that battery like shovel removal tool thing. It's a really good kit. Now before we start, before you do anything at all, make sure your battery level is below 20% on your Switch. So make sure it's below 20%, turn the Switch off, and then we can proceed to remove it. If it's above 20%, you know, you're gonna risk issues, you know, so safety wise, make sure it's below 20%. Okay, so let's get on with it. So start by removing the two Phillips head screws on the top and the bottom, and then turn the Switch around, remove the 4 tri-head screws on the back. And now we're going to gently pry the back of the case off. Now be gentle not to snap the clips because this is just clipped into place once the screws are removed. And if you're too, you know, heavy-handed, you're probably gonna snap these little clips. That's not a good thing. So this did take me a little while to ensure that I didn't break anything. However, once that's off, we can actually take the shield off, which is held in place with 4 or 5 screws. Now, I actually missed one initially, so make sure to unscrew them all. Now, you'll see old thermal paste on the back of the shield and on the heatsink as well, but we will deal with that later. So first, towards the base of the battery, you'll see a small ribbon cable. What you want to do is lift that latch up and then gently slide out that ribbon cable. Now be careful here. Then we want to lift the battery connection out. Mine was actually a bit tricky to remove, so you know, it might be a little bit fiddly, but you can get it out. Now, once that's out, gently start trying to remove the battery. Now, when I said this was going to be difficult, this is what I meant. And this is because the battery is actually glued into place. It's not as easy as just removing the battery. You're going to have to really gently pry this out. So what I did is I got a syringe full of isopropyl alcohol and gently put it in the gaps around the battery, and then I moved the switch around gently to let that sort of alcohol roll around underneath that battery. And then I used that little shovel thing to gently sort of lift up the battery, adding more alcohol as I was doing so. Now this did take quite a bit of force and was definitely time consuming. This probably took 10-15 minutes of really gently trying to pry this out. You do not want to rip it out. You could puncture the battery, which is not good. And also if you're too forceful, well, you might actually damage the board behind the battery tray or anything like that, or the screen. You could even damage the screen. So take your time. It's going to take a while. Even if it takes you 30 minutes or more, just be gentle and get it out safely. Once it's out, use the isopropyl alcohol with one of those Q-tips to clean the battery bay. So I used a Q-tip and then a microfiber cloth afterwards to clean it up. Now before we install the new battery, we're going to remove the heatsink, clean it, and then add more thermal paste. So there's a few screws holding the heatsink into place, so remove those first and then remove the heatsink. Then use the coffee filters dipped in the alcohol to clean up any residue of that thermal paste that's left on the board itself, on the heatsink, and on the shield too, ensuring there's no old paste left there. Now get your new thermal paste and put a pea-sized blob on the board and then screw the heatsink back into place. Now a pea-sized blob will be fine because once you screw it into place, that's going to disperse and have more coverage there. Now we're going to install the battery. So it comes with adhesive sticky stuff on the back of the battery. So remove the sticker first, put it into place, press down gently so that it sort of, sticks, and then install that connection. I actually had to bend the connection around a little bit for it to actually connect properly. So, it did take a little bit of time. Now, after that, you can install that ribbon cable back into place. So you want to gently slide that into place and then drop the latch back down, securing it into place. Next, we need to add even more thermal paste. So again, I did a small line of paste this time across the top of the heatsink pipe that will then have contact with that metal shield that we're going to screw back on. So once we've done that, now we're going to put that shield back into place. But there is a latch, so make sure to press down on it firmly before screwing it down. And this latch is on the right hand side, so roughly put it in the right place and then gently squeeze it into place on the right side. That will latch it down and then you can screw it back into place. Now I use this opportunity to clean the edges of the case of any dirt and dust. I mean, Christina's case here is pretty grubby. I could have done a better job, but it is what it is. I got the insides clean. And then you just click the back of it back into place, install those 4 tri-head screws and the 4 Phillips head screws on the top and the bottom, and you're done. But that's not all. You might have got to this stage and you're like, yay, I'm finished. Not quite, because what we want to do is calibrate the battery, because if you just start using it willy-nilly now, there's a chance that the switch battery indicator will not tally up to the actual capacity, the level of charge in the battery, right? So what you want to do is, before you do anything, obviously you could test to make sure it turns on. That's probably a good thing because you may have loosely connected the battery or something like that. Once you've done that, stick it on charge and then wait for it to get to 100% and then leave it on charge for another 2 or 3 hours. And then what you want to do is then run that battery down flat. So just play the switch or leave it on the side running a game or whatever until the battery goes completely flat to 0% and turns itself off. Once you've done that, plug it back into the charger and then charge it all the way up to 100%, and then that should be calibrated and the system should be in sync with the battery level of charge, right? So that is what we do. So there you go. That's how to swap a Switch Lite battery. Now, of course, I could have just sent this back to Nintendo to do, but I like tinkering with stuff and I wanted to show you guys. So, hopefully you appreciate this video. It was a little bit more tricky than I was anticipating. That battery being glued down was a real pain. It really was. It took a long time to try and get that up without damaging anything. And yeah, it just takes a bit of time cleaning up the thermal paste, removing the heatsink and stuff like that. It's a bit long when you consider other handheld systems. You can just unscrew something and literally just pull a battery out. It's not as easy as that with this. It's fully in there. But yeah, I mean, if you attempt this, let me know down in the comments how you got on. And if you have any questions, then hit me up. And also all the links and everything will be down in the description too. And of course, make sure you subscribe because it really helps us out. And like this video, share this video to anyone you think it might help. So that would be really appreciated. And if you want to see me tearing down a controller to fix some sticky buttons, well then there's a video just here of that video. Basically, there's a controller that had some sticky buttons. I took it apart, sanded it down, and I show you exactly how to do it here. So why not? You're watching this and you like tinkering with stuff, right? So go and check that video out. Just do it and subscribe.